Africa. The dry season. This female lion is stalking her prey. It's twice her size and able to shatter her skull with one flick of its powerful hooves. This time, the risk has paid off. Even though the lion is a skilled hunter, success is never assured. Survival in the animal kingdom is always precarious. Finding food is a daily, pressing need. But equally pressing is the need to avoid becoming food yourself. Balancing these two essentials is a complex task. The solutions are infinitely varied, endlessly surprising, and constantly evolving. In the amazing world of animals, it often seems that there is no such thing as an insurmountable challenge. There are few places on Earth colder, bleaker, or more empty of life than the Arctic snowfields. But for one animal, nowhere else will do. It's late April, and a mother polar bear and her cubs are emerging from their cozy winter lair. The harshest months are over, but the temperature can still drop as low as -45 degrees. The mother has not eaten in 4 months and must find food soon. But looking around this expanse of ice and snow, it's hard to imagine how. Below the ice cap, another Arctic animal has made the freezing waters its home. The powerful ringed seal has no plans to become the polar bear's first spring meal. But the seal's new pup is much more vulnerable. Soon the mother polar bear is out on the sea ice, searching for her favorite food. The defenseless seal pup has been hidden deep under the icy surface, while its mother, mindful of the danger, goes to feed. But no hiding place is safe from a polar bear. Polar bears don't rely on their eyes. They have an astonishing sense of smell, acute enough to detect a seal pup deep under the snow, even from a kilometer away. But the bear must not warn the pup of her approach. As she comes near, the slightest crunch of snow could give her away. This time, the seal pup escapes. But before long, the polar bear will find another, less alert. In the northern woods of Scandinavia, the winter snows lie thick on the ground. The great grey owl must feed itself and its family, but its normal prey is now well hidden. Unlike the polar bear, the great grey owl's sense of smell is not out of the ordinary. It has to rely on another sense. Feathered discs on either side of the owl's face act like amplifiers, focusing sound towards its sensitive ears. Because each ear scans sound from only one side of the landscape, the owl's hearing is not only acute, 10 times more so than ours, but extremely accurate. The owl can pinpoint sounds to the nearest millimeter, even under a muffling blanket of snow. The owl family's accomplishments don't end there. They have excellent vision. It's those big eyes. They gather all available light, particularly valuable if the only illumination is the moon. The eyes of this Scops owl are special in another way too. The owls see only in black and white, but it's a benefit rather than a drawback. It gives them spectacular contrast vision, so that they can detect the slightest movement, such as this spider. But spiders themselves have their own unique talents when it comes to hunting strategy. These brightly colored jumping spiders have brains the size of pinheads, yet they're among the most successful hunters in the animal kingdom. They can jump as much as 80 times their own body length and still judge their landing with pinpoint accuracy. It's this deadly aim that gives them the edge. A praying mantis is a formidable challenge, but the spider is not deterred. Mantis and spider confront each other. The mantis rocks to and fro, hoping to confuse. It doesn't work. The frontal attack is only one of the jumping spider's many strategies. Others are more subtle. Here, the Portia jumping spider mounts an attack on an almost blind but venomous cross spider. First, it tries to lure the cross spider within range of its deadly sting by shaking the web, mimicking the thrashings of a trapped insect. But the cross spider isn't fooled. Sensing danger, it bounces the web and stays put. So the jumping spider tries another approach, this time taking advantage of the cross spider's poor vision. Quietly, it climbs up to a point just above the cross spider's web and very gently lowers itself to within striking distance of the unsuspecting prey. The jumping spider's surprise attack has struck home. Now all it has to do is to wait for the poison to work. The jumping spider's repertoire is unusually varied, and it's not limited to ingenious hunting behavior. Some have evolved physical changes to help them secure their prey. They've perfected the arts of disguise and camouflage. Disguise can take many forms, some of them unexpected. For most insects, a green weaver ant's nest is a place to avoid. The ants have no trouble dealing with intruders, even those much larger than themselves. But one animal appears unconcerned. The golden jumping spider marches straight up to the sentry who, confused, does not attack. The spider is free to come and go as it pleases, because though it doesn't look anything like a green weaver ant, the golden jumping spider secretes a substance that makes it smell like one. And this allows it to pass unchallenged all the way to the core of the nest. There, it feasts on the ant grubs, unmolested by the bewildered carers. It seems that in an ant colony, if you smell right, you can get away with murder. Many animals adopt a visual disguise. The potu, a type of nightjar, imitates the dead branch of a tree. This looks for all the world like a twig on the forest floor. This bush cricket passes for a dead leaf, and this a live one. And this is no orchid, it's a mantis, as a butterfly soon discovers. For camouflage not only disguises the animal from predators, it can also allow it to become a predator itself. It's a double benefit, and there's no end to the variety of ways animals have evolved to make use of it. There's no shortage of variety in the undersea world, especially around the warm ocean's coral reefs. It's a dazzling display. But even here, not all creatures seek the limelight. Waiting quietly for passing prey, this anglerfish is easily overlooked. This one looks like an innocent sponge, except for the lure on its forehead. Small reef fish mistake the movement for a meal and don't realize what's at the other end. The scorpionfish lies in wait for food too. It's practically invisible until it moves. It's not just small fish that can melt into the background. The angel shark spends its time on the ocean floor, perfectly camouflaged by its gnarled, mottled skin. At up to 5 feet long, it's quite a size and has an appetite to match. A horn shark would make a desirable meal. It's a wary creature with a secret weapon, sharp spines in front of its dorsal fins. But the angel shark is a master of surprises. The angel shark wins the first round, but the horn shark's barbs make it hard to swallow. The angel shark admits defeat and settles down to await something more palatable, which isn't long in coming. The sandy sea bottom is also the home of the king of camouflage, the flounder. It's easy to spot this one swimming across the reef, but not so simple to see this one. The flounder's flat shape is perfect for concealing itself on the ocean floor, and its quick change skills enable it to blend in with almost any kind of surface. Recently, this flounder was tested to see just how good these reactions can be. It didn't take long. But what about those who can't change their spots or their bright colors? Here, in the reef, the simplest option when night falls is to hide. The wrasse family take it one step further. They dig themselves in under a blanket of soft sand. It's a good ploy, but it won't protect them from a hammerhead shark. For hammerheads have a special advantage, a sixth sense. Located in their unusually shaped heads are organs acutely sensitive to electrical fields. All animals, even humans, emit a faint electrical pulse. The hammerheads can detect these fields of electricity even when the levels are extremely low. So the hammerhead can home in on the electrical impulse generated by the heartbeat of the tiny wrasse, even when it's buried in the sand. Sometimes the commotion brings sleeping fish out of their hiding place to see what's going on, which is not a good idea. Survival in the clear waters of the coral reef provides endless challenge. In a major river, the problems of daily life can be very different. The Amazon is the world's mightiest river. A fifth of the world's river water is carried along its course, which in places is more than 10 miles wide. But every year, the Amazon floods. And when it does so, it carries with it a cargo of mud and silt that makes it at times almost opaque. For the river's creatures, just finding their way around is a major problem. The boto, or river dolphin, copes well with the murky waters. It doesn't have especially good sight, but like all dolphins, it has something else instead: echolocation. The river dolphin has a more flexible neck than its marine relations, so it can scan more efficiently at short range. It solves the problem of navigation and of finding food. But sonar is not the only solution for light-challenged fish in the Amazon. These fish generate an electric field around their bodies. Any object in their path distorts the field. The changes are detected by receptors in the fish's skin. This extraordinary sense allows them to find their way around the murkiest of waters. The eel, however, has evolved an additional use for its electrical powers as a weapon. It shocks its prey into submission. Most electric fish generate only a weak field, but the electric eel can deliver a jolt of 600 volts, enough to stun a man or kill a child. It's the most dangerous fish in the Amazon. But there could be another claimant to that title. Seeing a shoal of piranha tearing the flesh from an unfortunate egret may seem enough to challenge the eel's claim. Yet some species of piranha, called pacu, are totally vegetarian. And even the carnivorous varieties are usually content to feed off kitchen scraps. In fact, as long as you pick the right time of year when the Amazon is in flood, you can go bathing with a piranha without fearing the consequences. It's only in the dry season, when the River Amazon becomes a patchwork of mudbanks and shoals, that piranha, cut off in isolated pools of water, exhibit the feeding frenzy for which they have become so well known. At that time of the year, the Amazon is full of decaying vegetable matter. Its water very low on oxygen. It's a problem for all the fish. Some, including the electric eel, have developed the ability to breathe air directly, giving them more chance of surviving until the rains come. In Africa, the dry season is equally hazardous. Grazing is sparse and water holes are drying up. In the heat of midday, animals try to find what shade they can. It's now, when resources are stretched, that the survival game is at its most intense. The hunters roam. For them, weakened animals mean easier prey. But even among top predators, the big cats, there's plenty of competition. Lions, cheetahs and leopards are all on the lookout for food. Lions can have an advantage when they hunt in groups, harassing a herd to pinpoint the most vulnerable animals. The cheetah's advantage is simple. It's the fastest animal on land, reaching almost 100 kilometers per hour at full stretch. Its favorite prey is the Thompson's gazelle. They're more evenly matched than you might suspect. The cheetah may be the world's sprint champion, but the gazelle is a long-distance runner. If the cheetah doesn't kill within the first 300 meters, its advantage is gone. So, the cheetah's chances depend on getting close to the ever-vigilant gazelle. It's found new ways to do just that. The wildlife safari boom has brought jeeps into the equation. Tourists love the chance to get close to this iconic animal, and the cheetah gets both an elevated viewpoint and a disguise. The Thompson's gazelle aren't afraid of tourists or their jeeps, and they don't seem to realize that there's an unwelcome passenger. Slenderly built with long legs and powerful hindquarters, the cheetah can reach 88 kilometers per hour in less than 3 seconds from a standing start. Its skeleton is highly flexible, allowing it to twist and turn without slowing, and guaranteeing a massive stride length. This time, the cheetah didn't quite get close enough. After each chase, the cheetah rests. It will take at least 20 minutes for the buildup of lactic acid in its muscles to dissipate. The serval is like a scaled-down version of the cheetah, but it makes up for its size. It's a world-class high jumper. Anyone who owns a domestic cat knows that they like to be out and about at night. Their wild cousins are no different. The leopard, particularly, likes to hunt during the hours of darkness, which is why it's so rarely seen by humans. It's an accomplished stalker. Cats are said to dislike water, but the Indian fishing cat delights in it. It spends much of its time wading, stalking fish and frogs. Not all animals share the hunting skills of the cat family, but many are happy to take advantage. Whenever there's a kill, it's not long before a group of interested parties begins to gather. A solitary jackal is easily seen off. And vultures know to bide their time. But a hyena is more confident. It has a right to be. It's solid muscle with a powerful pair of jaws. Surprisingly, in a one-to-one contest for the cheetah's hard-won kill, it's the hyena that comes out on top. Even more surprisingly, hyenas can take a kill from a group of 5 lionesses. It's all a matter of numbers. If it's 2-to-1 in favor of the hyenas, the lions can still keep them at bay. But when reinforcements make it 4-to-1, these lions give up the struggle and relinquish their prize. There are many advantages to a joint approach. It can even work for birds. The Harris hawk in the deserts of New Mexico hunts in cooperative groups. Half a dozen hawks assemble at dawn and start to scour the countryside for a potential breakfast. They use the tall pillars of the saguaro cactus as lookout points. Not the most comfortable of perches, but the alternative, the prickly pear, is not much better. The hawks scan every inch of their patch of desert. They've spotted a pack rat, but it's keeping to the protection of the thorny scrub. Some of the hawks come down to the ground to try and force the rat into the open, while others wait to pounce from above. But the rat is fast and determined and earns its escape. The ground crew has disturbed another creature, though, an unwary cottontail rabbit. Once it's out in the open, the other hawks swoop down. When the kill has been made, the birds divide the spoils. Soon only a scrap of the cottontail is left. For a carefully planned, enthusiastic hunting strategy, however, it's hard to beat a group that was once thought to be gently vegetarian. Certainly, there's nothing chimpanzees like more than a ripe fig. But it's now known that chimps are keen hunters, and the success comes from their ability to communicate and coordinate their actions. Their prey here is a group of colobus monkeys. One of the chimpanzees drives the colobus ahead of him. Others patrol on either side to stop the monkey escaping. Ahead, more chimps are waiting, ready to pounce. Now all the chimpanzees are in position. The trap closes. The kill is brought down so that the females and young can share it. If the chimpanzees seem to take particular pleasure in their hunting, they're not alone. Orcas play a marine version of cat and mouse, tossing their sea lion prey to and fro. Seals and sea lions are their favorite food, but adults are not easy to catch. The nursery of these Patagonian sea lions is remote and protected on the landward side by high cliffs. Here they and their pups should be safe. But some orcas have found a way to breach the safety of the nursery. In one or two places, deep channels enable whales to get right up to the beach. Sometimes as many as 3 orcas attack at once. Having got up onto the beach, it's not always so easy to get back. The orca has to thrash its body until it's far enough into the water to swim away. Orcas are considered one of the most rapacious of all hunters. They seem to like hunting for the sake of it, and even enjoy the risk of their beach adventures. Often, they don't even bother to eat their prey. It's one reason they've earned their alternative name, killer whales. Of course, hunting is not the only way of finding food, and many animals have opted for a gentler, vegetarian option. But this can present its own problems. Gelada monkeys in the mountains of Ethiopia have had to adapt to a high, cold environment. There's little to eat here except grass. So that's what they do, using their well-developed, opposable thumbs to pluck it in handfuls. But grass is poor in nutrition, so the geladas must eat a lot of it. It takes up almost all of their time. The group is so large that communication could be a problem. But the geladas chatter, a distinctive sound that keeps everyone in touch. In the swamp forests of Sumatra, vegetarian orangutans too have to work hard to find enough to eat. Their staple food is fruit, but the fruiting trees are inconveniently arranged, dotted widely around hundreds of square kilometers of forest, and their fruit ripens at different times. But each orangutan makes its way unerringly from tree to tree, turning up at exactly the moment that the fruit becomes ripe. It seems that orangutans not only have a map of this massive forest in their minds, but a calendar as well. Vegetarians are often at extra risk from predators, as so much of their time and concentration is focused on food gathering. But there are ways around that. For some, group vigilance is the key. At dawn, on the shores of Lake Naivasha in Kenya, the vervet monkeys come down from the trees to search for food on the ground. Here, they are much more vulnerable than they are in the branches. But there's always a sentry on watch. And for greater safety, vervets don't just have one generic alarm call to warn of danger. They have different calls for different threats. This call warns of a snake. The vervets respond to each call in different ways. The eagle alarm sends them dashing into the thickest tangle of branches where the bird daren't venture for fear of damaging its wings. In the Thai forest in West Africa, animals are at risk from a variety of predators. Here, different kinds of monkeys have formed a mutual warning system. And they've even been joined by the mongooses. It's a comprehensive safety network which extends from the canopy right down to the forest floor. And the most amazing part is that each member responds to the alarm calls of the other species in the party. Not every animal has a network to rely on. When danger threatens, some have to defend themselves. The hunting frog, for example. In the Australian bush, a dingo gets a surprise. When the frilled lizard opens up, it looks not just disconcerting, but twice its actual size. It buys the lizard a bit of time to turn and run. Lizards have a considerable array of stratagems for getting themselves out of trouble. Speed is one of the simplest. The collared lizard has hugely developed back legs, which enables it to escape the swiftest of predators. The Mount Lyell salamander in California is an amphibian, not a lizard, but it has a flexible, almost rubber-like body. Its tail can act as a fifth leg. To make a rapid exit on the hillsides of the Sierra Nevada, it takes the quickest way down, curled into a tight ball. And unfolds itself at the bottom unscathed. But for impressive displays, few can beat the basilisk lizard of South America. It can walk on water. In fact, it's not walking, but running. Its buoyancy comes from cushions of air trapped under its feet, and they only hold up for a split second. Surrounded by potential predators, the basilisk usually manages to leave the hunters standing. But perhaps the best strategy to avoid being eaten is to make the act of eating you as dangerous and unpleasant as possible, and ideally, fatal. This golden poison frog keeps in its skin one of the deadliest of poisons. For years, South American Indians have used it to tip their arrows so that they can kill monkeys and other game. Most poisonous jungle species broadcast the fact by wearing bright warning colors. There's no point in being poisonous if other animals don't know about it. The same principle holds good on the coral reef. Lionfish don't concern themselves with camouflage. On the contrary, their bright stripes advertise the fact that the tips of their feathery fins are spiked with venom. Would-be predators give them a wide berth. It's not even necessary to be poisonous. Sometimes being downright unpleasant is enough to put predators off. In the bird world, unpleasant-smelling bodily fluids are often used as an offensive weapon. The fulmar secretes an evil-smelling oily liquid that can be directed towards intruders. Even quite young chicks can do it, as many a climber has found to his cost. In Scandinavia, fieldfares have a similar strategy. These birds nest in large colonies of up to 30 pairs, and with so many vulnerable fledglings around, the nesting sites inevitably attract predators. A hungry young raven decides to try his luck. The alarmed fieldfares gather and start to mob the raven, trying to drive it out of the shelter of the tree. Once in the open, they bombard it with their own droppings. This foul-smelling fusillade is not just undignified, it can seriously damage the waterproof coating of the raven's feathers. The raven retires to repair the damage. Perhaps the most extraordinary biological weapon is deployed by the horned lizard in Mexico. When it's cornered by a curious dog, stern measures are called for. The horned lizard is able, at will, to increase the blood pressure in its head and then release it. Blood vessels in the lizard's eye have ruptured, allowing the lizard to ejaculate its blood as far as 1 meter into the air. The dog is unharmed, but surprise, plus the distinctive unpleasant taste, is enough to change its mind. Of course, it's always possible to make use of another animal's defenses should your own prove inadequate. The hermit crab may have a shell, but it isn't enough to protect it from its worst enemy, the octopus. Something more is called for, and that something turns out to be a sea anemone, whose stinging tentacles will not please an octopus. This hermit crab has managed to coax 3 sea anemones onto its shell. The octopus abandons its attack. The hermit crab goes back to finding food, and the sea anemones will be rewarded as scraps from the crab's next meal drift their way. It's often the case that a bit of cooperation can prove a mutual benefit to animals struggling to survive. This goby lives in coral reefs and has struck up a close relationship with a shrimp. The two live together in a burrow that the shrimp has dug out. The shrimp seems almost excessively house-proud and is continuously carrying out home improvements, to which the goby contributes nothing. But the goby's presence is essential, for the shrimp is nearly blind, whereas the goby has a sharp eye for predators. The shrimp uses its long antennae to keep tabs on the goby's position. If the goby is in its usual place, the shrimp knows it's safe to carry on working. The goby occasionally pops out in search of a meal, but it always returns. The shrimp collects its own lunch from a little patch of algae that grows beside the entrance to the burrow. But if the shrimp ventures too far afield, it can become lost. Then the goby comes to the rescue, re-establishing contact and guiding the shrimp back to base. Cooperation can ease many of the anxieties of life and even some of its little discomforts. In Africa, oxpeckers relieve the giraffe of troublesome ticks, which to them are valuable food. And the birds get another bonus, little tufts of hair to line their nests. Even giant tortoises are bothered by biting insects. But there are Galapagos finches to help them out, even in those difficult-to-reach places. Under the sea, turtles suffering from a similar problem find relief in the attentions of cleaner fish. And all sorts of sharks, rays, and other fish turn up regularly to receive their treatment. All are careful not to harm their enthusiastic attendant. A minute shrimp cleans a goatfish while he waits. Regular customers come back to these cleaning stations every few days. And though the resident staff of wrasse and shrimps can deal with as many as 50 an hour, there are often queues of itchy fish awaiting their turn. Animals, it seems, are not short of extraordinary answers to the endless challenges of their lives. Most are inborn, genetic adaptations that have evolved in response to environmental demands. But some solutions are different, behaviors that are learned, then passed on within the group. Chimpanzees love termites. They are crisp, juicy, and protein-rich. It's just that they can be tricky to extract from their holes. So many chimps have found a way of using tools to help. Safari ants demand a different technique, a long stick and a good tolerance for stinging bites. If the ants become too invasive, chimps will extract them from their nests while hanging in mid-air. These are skills that the chimps discovered for themselves. Others they've copied from humans. But all are passed on, making life for the next generation just that bit easier. It's clear that when apes are in contact with humans, they are only too ready to adopt new techniques. At Camp Liki, a refuge for orangutans in Borneo, the orangs are close observers of their hosts. No one has trained these orangutans. They have learned simply from watching. Not all their new skills are, strictly speaking, useful for orangs in the wild. But they demonstrate how great their capacity may be to learn techniques that could be useful to them in the endless struggle to survive. Right across the world, animals face the daily struggle to make a living. But all, in their different ways, find answers. With each ingenious solution, they add to the enormous, endlessly changing tapestry of life on our planet, where the wonders of animal survival strategy can never cease to amaze.